The Holy Gospel according to Matthew, the 11th chapter. When John heard in prison what the Messiah was doing, he sent word by his disciples and said to him, "Are you the one who is to come, or are we to wait for another?" Jesus answered them, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news brought to them. And blessed is anyone who takes no offense at me." As they went away, Jesus began to speak to the crowds about John. "What did you go out into the wilderness to look at? A reed shaken by the wind? What then did you go out to see? Someone dressed in soft robes? Look, those who wear soft robes are in royal palaces. What then did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, 'See, I am sending my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way before you.' Truly, I tell you, among those born of women, no one has arisen greater than John the Baptist. Yet the greatest in the kingdom of heaven the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Christ. You may be seated. When Dawn and I were preparing to marry, one of our friends was excited to announce that she had found the perfect wedding present for us. And in fact, over the months, she continued to build that present up, to build our expectations of what this gift was going to be. It was going to be amazing. Given absolutely no clues about what to expect other than that it was going to be great and one of a kind, our imaginations raced. What could this possibly be? Finally, the day came to open wedding presents. And Dawn and I sat down to do so. We put that fabulous gift off just for a little bit. We opened a variety of lovely and wonderful and useful gifts. Although those who know me know that in none of them was extension cords, but that's another story. Then we decided to open our friend's gift. One might say that we were fortunate that there was not an audience. There we were, newlyweds, opening this absolutely amazing gift. Well, it was one of a kind. It was crafted especially for us. And yet it was not at all what either of us had expected. After all the expectation, we were a bit let down. There were so many ways that this gift did not fit who Dawn and I were. And yet, nearly 30 years later, that gift is one of the very few gifts that we received that has been present and on public display in every home we have lived in. That gift had staying power like pretty much no other gift that we had. Last week, the church heard John the Baptist tell about his expectations of the coming Messiah. you might recall, axe to the root of the tree. He talked about a winnowing fork. He talked about baptism by fire. All of that played large in his imagination. As John prepared the crowds for the coming Messiah, he called them to repentance. John stood on the shoulders of many truth tellers, many prophets over the centuries who had developed a whole set of expectations about the coming Messiah. Among those expectations was that the Messiah would be on the order of Cyrus. You remember Cyrus? He's the one who worked freedom for the Jewish people from the Babylonian captivity, pretty much with a propaganda war. Or the Messiah would be like a strong man who would come and kick those Romans out and work freedom. Or the Messiah would be like the greatest king in all of Israel, who united all of the kingdoms into one, David. In the end, there was an expectation that somehow Israel, by this Messiah, would be restored to its rightful place as a world power. Then John got arrested, and things didn't look good for him. And Jesus, well, the way he was doing ministry was not at all what they had expected. He wasn't moving in the way that was going to bring a unified kingdom. Jesus wasn't doing the kinds of things that was going to, well, bring freedom from Roman rule, at least from what it looked like. If Jesus was the Messiah, well, he wasn't anything like what they expected. So John sends a messenger. Are you the one? Jesus responds with words that come from those very same prophets, those very same truth tellers. His words come straight out of Isaiah, in fact. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, the poor have good news brought to them. Jesus is working healing and wholeness and well-being for all people. Those who are on the margins, those who are at risk, receive blessing. Economic justice prevails for the poor who have enough. Such ministry and activity, it was destabilizing. And it was a challenge to the powers who were in political and religious systems, both Roman and Jewish. Jesus, by his very ministry, is a challenge to business as usual. But Jesus did not behave or exercise his authority in the way that so many people had expected. His gifts are of much more lasting value. His gifts are grounded in love and in forgiveness and in reconciliation and in new life. Though the ministry of Jesus, indeed Jesus himself, are unexpected and surprising, these very gifts have staying power. They have authority, and they have a place in the lives of the faithful, in the lives of those who are open to receiving those gifts. And those gifts are healing and reconciliation and new life. Those gifts call the faithful to live beyond conflict and strife. Those gifts call the faithful to live in ways that extend respect and dignity to all people, the infirm, the poor, the wealthy, and the well. all alike, no matter what the dividing line. Jesus, in his ministry, calls to a new way of being. And so as the church awaits the coming Lord, not just the celebration of his birth 2,000 years ago, but the coming of the Lord in the unfinished future that is still unfolding in powerful ways. May this church watch and wait and ready itself for the ways in which, surprising ways, in which the Messiah is in our midst, seeking to share these same gifts of life today.